Hello. Oh my gosh, you can hear my my mouse clicks. Wait. Give me a quick moment. Okay. Hello. Hello. Okay, I don't think I can do anything about that. But yes, hello. As you may notice, I am not in PNG tuber form. I am just PNG right now. But that is okay. And today I want to focus on... Oh my gosh, wait. I'm getting called... So hello everyone, my name is Wanten. I might actually make a name for myself other than just the channel name because I don't really feel like I'm the same entity, if you know what I mean. But yes, today we will be answering your... Oh my gosh. Game dev questions. So just to be clear, okay, I'm going to be giving you some background information about myself first. I am a game development hobbyist, right? I'm not a professional game developer, but I have been doing this for a long time. Maybe, I think over a decade now. And I am mostly using it to study programming, so, well, you know, I am not an expert programmer. I am not in a field that is related to programming. I did approach game development from the perspective of an artist. So do take that into account, that I am approaching it through an art lens and through an experience lens, as in the game development experience. No, the gaming experience. And I think I have at least some tidbits to share, especially for the basics of game development and getting into it. So if you are a programmer, I think you can still get something out of this video, maybe just a different perspective on game development. But this video will definitely focus more on people who are approaching game development not from the computer science or software engineering perspective. So okay, I got some questions. Gosh, I'm repeating a lot of things. Yes, I have a bunch of questions here. So the first one is... This was a good one. How long does it take to create a game of a genre you choose? This is a very subjective, not really subjective thing. This really depends on the context. This depends on your skill level. This depends on what type of game you want to make and how high your standards are for it. Because, for example, an experienced studio with, let's say, 5 to 10 people can take maybe a year of full-time, or at least mostly full-time work, to make a fully polished game. And these are people who know what they're doing, right? Sometimes it can be much longer if you're making like a lot of assets, if you're making a lot of levels. And sometimes it can be shorter if it's something like more streamlined or something they've already done before. But basically, it really depends on your skill level and on your scope. If you are starting out, I do not really recommend judging, like giving yourself such a strict timeline, because a lot of what you really be doing is figuring out technology, like figuring out how things mesh. Like for example, well, I approached this from an artist perspective, so I had a lot of ideas of like, oh, I want it to look like this, I wanted to be like this, I wanted to have this sort of features that will look this way. And from an art perspective, I can probably do all of that, let's say in a video format, in like a few months. But the thing that you have to remember when making video games, so this is specifically video games, by the way, computer games, or, well, you get it, is that at its core, it's a programming project. So if you do not have a quick way to program your game, you basically have no game. As much as I really like art, and as much as I really like music and storytelling, the core of the game, like the actual canvas where you put everything, it's going to be the game design and the program itself. There are a lot of different like software that can expedite this process, but in general, yes, it depends on a lot of those factors. And like a lot of genres are harder than they appear. Like for example, I thought that turn-based RPGs would be relatively simple because it's just a lot of like, okay, I say this as someone who doesn't really play them, like, oh, it's a bunch of like it's just a bunch of menu options essentially that you choose, and then things get added or deducted. But the difficult thing that I've heard from a bunch of people who attempted making them and who are very into that genre is that it's actually really hard because of the number of things you have to add and the number of things you have to balance. And depending on whether or not you're using an engine specifically built for that, more on that later, it can really compound time. So yes, that is something to keep in mind. So I would say that for an actual answer, for you to sort of get an estimate, I would say, okay, assuming that you're a true beginner, since that is really who this video is for, I would say that like a 20-minute YouTube video on like a YouTube video tutorial of making a game can take you anywhere between, so 10 minutes of video can take you 3 hours, because sometimes the video is like sped up, or they're just guiding you through the process or explaining some things also. Can take you anything from 3 hours to a couple of weeks. Yes, depending on how sped up it is. Sometimes it's really just because it was sped up. Sometimes it is because you're translating stuff into your specific project, so it does take a lot longer. But yeah, sometimes 3 weeks, sometimes you have to like choose an easier tutorial because you don't understand a bunch of things, and that is okay. Sometimes you don't have to really optimize stuff, especially early on. It's better to sort of get to know the process first. Yes, that's what I would answer. It's a very, very long time. So my project, I am able to make really short projects in like I have made projects in a day. I do not recommend it. I mean a day as in like almost 24 hours straight. I have made a game, although it's not polished at all, in or like a prototype of a game in like 5 days, on a prototype that is like 60%, like 40 to 60% there, which is mostly lacking like how to cap off key systems and also polish in terms of assets. And I have had a project that's taken me years, because basically I am using it to study the systems that I would need for like bigger projects anyway. So that is my answer. What application do you use? There's this question too. So I'm going to answer this with you as in me. So what application I use? For the programming itself, I use Godot. It has been recommended to me by a mentor because it's a lot more approachable for people who are not in the computer science field or are not planning to enter it in a strict way. The old, well, it's pretty contested right now, but another well-used one, although a lot of people are migrating out of it, is Unity. It is harder to program in, but it has been industry standard for a really long time, especially because it uses I think C++ or C#, I forgot. But because if you do want to learn how to program for other types of environments, is that what they call it? If you want to program for other use cases, that would be like useful, but I will warn you, it is harder to use. If you want to make specifically 3D games, there is Unreal Engine. Personally, I have not used this much at all because it takes a lot of space on your computer, and you also need a beefy computer. I do not recommend using this on a laptop that is not a gaming laptop. It will heat up and it will eat your storage space. They do have a lot of tools though for like customizing 3D people, customizing 3D models in editor. So like an editor is the software that you use itself, which makes it pretty good if you want to make something with a lot of different people, and you don't want to sculpt them yourself, because I get it takes a while. You can do that instead. That is just for the programming side though. What I will say, also before I forget, I use GitHub for all of my projects. That's bigger than just like a one-off programming thing. If you are not familiar with it, it basically saves a lot of your progress. It basically saves your progress per batch, so that if you program something and then suddenly it doesn't work, you can go back to a previous version and work it out from there. This is especially useful if you are still learning or if you're making bigger projects. But even if it's a small project, I would really recommend you to start learning how to use it, because it will really save you down the line. At first, it was more of a bother to save my projects on GitHub, because it's like, why the heck do I have to like upload it and put a note and whatever. But I came across an issue where suddenly my game doesn't work anymore, and I really did not know what happened. So it was either I go back to a previous state, like a previous state that I've saved through GitHub, or I start again from scratch because I really could not find it, or alternatively spend weeks or months trying to look for like what went wrong. Yes, that is very important. So that is just for the programming itself. Outside of it, for let's say assets, for sprites, for music, I do use like a lot of different apps But it really depends on what you're most comfortable with. I also use free assets on itch, like asset packs, and also I think it was freesound.com for sound effects. Really make use of free assets, especially if you're learning how to program, because again, as I said a while ago, programming and the application itself is the core. And sometimes, even if you really want to add custom music, custom art, it will take a while to make. So if you're doing things solo, or you don't want to bother people to give you stuff for something that might not materialize, using royalty-free stuff and stuff that people give on an open license can really help. Especially since if you're making practice projects, you're not necessarily like going to sell it, so people are gonna be more lenient. There is a difference between stealing stuff and plagiarizing stuff, and like the thing that I just mentioned. So do search it up. Do not steal. But if it is free and people are like, you can use this on your project and you don't have to credit me, or like just credit me and it's fine. And some people are okay with you monetizing your project, some people are not. So yes, go and look at the licensing on that. Okay, what are my references? So again, I will approach this question in a very, what I think is the most basic one to answer. The first thing I would say is whatever software you choose. Oh god, I forgot to mention a lot of other softwares like RenPy, like RPG Maker, and Python. I'm sorry guys, I've already recorded this video a few days ago, but accidentally deleted it. I made it live, so it's like it's gone. Depending on what you do, there are different stuff that you can look at. But the one that I was very strictly recommended on learning how to use is the documentation of your specific game engine. So game engine, that's Godot, that's Unity, that's RenPy, that's RPG Maker, that's Unreal Engine. So those are all game engines. And for references, they have this thing called documentation, where it's sort of like a wiki or a list of like just explaining how the code works. So at first I would look at it and I would barely understand anything, but I do now find why that is so recommended, because it is the easiest way to check what you're doing is right, or like check what you could do in a specific situation once you have a better hang of things. And it is also very helpful to just understand how your game engine works. The second thing that I would really recommend, and basically the way that I started off with, is YouTube tutorials. There are a lot of YouTube tutorials for doing what you want. And also there's like different genres, there are different specific mechanics, so they're all there. You can also use websites like, for example, GD Quests or something like that, like tutorials, or like Code Combat and other things like that teach you how to code. Those are also really useful. Some of them are less specifically application of concepts into a game, but more of teaching you how code works. So if you really are starting from zero and you're really lost, I do recommend those. They do help by like slicing things in a smaller way. For reference also, there are a lot more stuff that I didn't know were available online as a reference, but they are. such as there's stuff like the Game Developer's Handbook, for example. I think that's what it's called, where they talk about the core systems that happen in like a game. So it teaches you how raycasts work, how to jump, how to do specific things. I will say though that those are much deeper in the computer science side, so some of them really are sort of more of like a bridge from the comp sci side into the game dev side. But it is still worth checking out once you sort of have a grasp on how to program things. And in some of them, at least the game development handbook, I think it's like the language is either C++, it's either C, like C something, or Python, which I don't personally use, but just reading through them helps a lot. Another thing is there's also this website called, I forgot what it's called, but it's something like Game UX thing. And it basically lists down the UI of hundreds, if not thousands of games, which you can use as reference. So those are things that you can definitely look at. Although, the things I've mentioned in the latter portion, those are more on the application. Wait, that's weird to use because application can have two meanings. That's more of like more down the line. If you really are starting programming from zero, I do recommend the stuff that I've mentioned earlier. Okay, I think there are no other questions. So instead, I will make up questions that I think would be useful. Such as, how do you finish project? Something very timely since I also have a lot of projects. How do you finish a project? Oh my god, it's complicated essentially. I will say though that not finishing projects is not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's the goal that is the problem, because sometimes you overestimate yourself or you underestimate a task. And if you actually force yourself to finish the project, sometimes it will just crush you. Like, it depends on your personality, of course. If you're always fleeting, it could be like a number of things. It could be that you don't really know what next step to make, or it could be that, things are genuinely too hard for you, that continuing this would just be bashing your head in a wall. Sometimes you have to quit. You have to quit and like start an easier project. Sometimes you just need distance to clear your head. Like, you can always come back to more difficult projects down the line. Like, a lot of solving this question really is diagnosing why you're not finishing them in the first place. It could be that you are very perfectionistic, so you just are stuck in a very specific loop of wanting this one aspect of a game perfected, when you gotta remember, unlike in a group work or something, I'm assuming you're doing this alone for the first few ones that you make. You are doing a lot, like, game development has so many factors that build up the game. There's different like aspects of it, like the programming, the art, the music, the story, the feel of it, and each of that is broken down into more specific things, such as, art has anatomy, art has clarity, art has form, color, like making like line art, sketching, conceptualization. And then programming itself has like the UI, has like mechanic 1, mechanic 2, mechanic 3. Like, for example, the first ever game that I've completed was a very, very bad platformer. And for a long time, I actually didn't consider it completed because I had so many more plans for it, right? But then I thought, oh, it's just a platformer, right? And then I'll just add this new mechanic in it. It's not necessarily new, but yeah, I'll add this one thing in it. But it turns out that, a platformer is not as simple to make as I thought. It's sort of like, oh, a table is a table. Well, a table actually has 4 legs and also a top, which make up the table. And if you get down to it, like, oh, someone also has to make the nails. Or like, do you have a hammer to do all of this with? So a lot of things you realize while you're like in the depths, in the trenches of making a game. And then I think one thing that really helped me finish projects is just give yourself some slack. This took me years to learn, but this is something that I will say. It's like sometimes projects can be done and projects can be bad. Like my first ever platformer. The story was shit, the UI the UI moves with the player. I didn't know how to make it so that the UI was fixed, and I didn't know how to use canvas items and control nodes before and viewports. So everything was just attached to the camera. What else? And sometimes you just sort of enter the self-defeating thing where you're like, oh, it's not a game if it's not super polished, and then you just compare yourself to finished products. You compare yourself with really great games, like, oh, I want to make a 2D game. It's gonna be like Undertale and Silksong. If you're an artist, like an illustrator, you sort of, it would be similar to if an artist is just learning how to draw, and they're like, I'm gonna draw like Michelangelo, but in the Mappa style. And then obviously, since you haven't really drawn outside of scribbles that you've done as a child, it's not necessarily going to look that way. So if you're an adult already, you can fairly assess that, like, wow, this sucks. I will never draw like Michelangelo X Mappa X, like this wonderful illustrator. Oh my god. But if you've ever stuck with drawing for a really long time, you know that for a long time you're just like, wow, I'm gonna be great, and you do something that's kind of bad, but there's like a little bit of improvement, and then you go on in the next phase, and then you draw like just a lot of eyes or just some hands or just faces, and then eventually it all sort of connects and you can draw pretty good now. So that is also the same process, I would say, in game development, where you should just accept things like, yeah, you don't gotta be the best. It's weird, but that was the main issue that I've had. Like, it's okay that it's not the best game. You can still make games that are not so good. Yeah. I think it's because also we don't really usually have other game developers to compare with. We only really get the finished product. But as with every single thing in this world, as with every human skill, you gotta start from the basics and work yourself up there. There are stuff that's gonna come easier to you and stuff that'll come harder, but it doesn't change the fact that there are usually a lot of prerequisites that you have to sort of fulfill and find out. Actually, even that, you gotta find it out yourself before you get into a level where you can make good stuff consistently. So yeah, so it's it's a mix of like don't beat yourself up too much over it, and have, it's so weird to say realistic goals, but basically what I've said, you know, you like if you're struggling to find out whether or not your goal is realistic or not, then just do it. Just do your project, and then you will find out whether or not it's realistic or not, and then you can sort of change your plans. It's okay to change plans. You know, you're not. And this is the other thing. Like, I do not recommend you hyping up your first project, your first ever project. Like, if it's just to your friends, it's fine. But like, don't make like Twitter posts over it, or like make posters over it, and like talk about it more than like, don't make promises of making things. You know, those things. Here's the thing. If you already know what you're doing, those things ideally you should start before you even start making your game. But if you don't know what you're doing yet, it's okay to learn that down the line. You know, and again, if you can find a mentor or a community, that would be really helpful. Okay, wait a moment. My dog wants to go out of my room. So give me a moment. Okay, I'm back. But yes, it's okay to realize things later, because you know, sometimes you really just realize things late, because if you do not do the things that like make it too late in the first place, you would never find the door anyway. Okay, what else do I have? I see this a few times, and I've also had experience with this, being on both sides of it. I am working with a friend. They are not working hard enough for my vision. How do I make them work harder? I've seen this, especially if you're in a group of creatives and you're like, hey, you want to work on something. Here's the thing. Okay? Number one, they are your friend. You are not paying them. This is not a professional team. You know, one aspect that makes something professional, it's not even skill level. It is whether or not there's money involved. So unless you are paying your friend, then it's basically volunteer work. Because the only thing you can cash out in this way is if you guilt trip your friend, and that makes you a bad friend. So don't do that. The second thing is, if your friend is doing something that you are not yourself skilled in. For example, I am let's say I'm an artist and I have a friend that's in computer science, and then they're just not making things at all. Or conversely, and I saw this happen so many times. I'm a computer science major. I program things, I know how things work, but then I'm like, hey, artists, can you do A, B, C, D, E? I want them now. I can't start making things without the art. If you do not share this specific skill with your friend who is volunteering, essentially, that is what it is, by the way, it's volunteer work. You might not see the problems that they have, and how some things might be impossible or some things might be not realistic at all. Especially if one or both of you did not get the formal training in that specific field. That is why there's a lot of artists that are exploited. It's because some of them do not have artists networks or do not have teachers that help you monetize your work and actually, you know, have self-worth as an artist. So you might get really easily exploited. Sometimes by your friends and family even. And sometimes it's just, boundaries and stuff. So yes, if you want someone to do whatever you want, use money. Money in this case is sort of like a get out of free card. And the more money you spend, the more you can get people to make more. And also, if you commission people, if you have more money, you can commission better people. Like for example, I can be a newbie game dev. I'm super ultra rich. If I'm that rich and I'm that committed to getting like a game, like a game soundtrack, I can technically maybe hire the creator of the soundtrack for Interstellar or like The Last of Us 1 to make music for myself, or the orchestra that does Genshin music to make music for me. And that will be okay because I have a lot of money. It will probably cost $100,000 or whatnot. I'm not sure. But that's gonna be a lot of money. But yeah, that's the thing. Because you already paid them, they don't give a shit about what happened to your game. Like if it flops or not, or whatever. Or like if it never even happens because they already got the money. And also, by the way, if you're doing this, read up the laws and check the agreements that you have with the artist so you're not just, again, exploiting them. So yes, this is something that I've learned very, very in a hard way. So this one, yes, everyone that you ask favors for, they're doing volunteer work. And the more that you sort of understand like how different processes work, like because some people are good at this, some people understand that they're getting favors, some people do not understand this. So if you're going to work with other people or if you're going to ask for favors yourself, you gotta be mindful of this specific aspect. And also sometimes there are just people that you don't work well with. They can be like your best friend, they can be your mom, but sometimes you work on a project and it just kind of implodes on itself because you two see eye to eye in life, but not in like your gaming preferences, or they might not even be interested at all. So yes, that is one thing that I do want to bring up, and I've seen a bunch of these in like the Gamedev subreddit, where if you're starting out, I really want you to be. Oh wait, what is that? Okay, I'm back. But yes, that is something to keep in mind, especially if you're someone who is really ambitious. Take care of the people who help you and be fair. And also, as I was saying, sometimes you have to try out those hats yourself to realize how not to realize, like sometimes you have to try those hats yourself and do your own research and just even practice it to appreciate how much goes into each specific craft. Like, that's something that I've done for example, music. I've always thought of it as an afterthought. I studied it a bit, and I've learned an instrument with a bunch of people, and well, I do not sound good until now. It's been like a year, but that just really made me appreciate music more. And I also understand the theory behind it a bit, and it's just, wow, it's so amazing and cool, and there's just so much stuff that go into it. And musicians, they have, because I've never been that good in music. I've only been recently like getting into it and like sort of exploring it. Musicians, they just act differently. Like, they know something that I do not. So definitely do that. And also, you can always use game dev as an excuse to learn more about the world, which I strongly suggest. Okay, what else do we have? Like, what questions? How do I start? I think I can end the video soon. How I start? How do I start? There we go. Again, I will recommend people to go on YouTube, search for like how to install your desired game engine. So game engine, okay, I will explain stuff for you here. I should have explained it earlier, but it felt kind of weird. So I will do just this 6.1. What are game engines? Do I need one? So here is the thing, okay? Oh. Here's the thing. A game engine is basically, from my understanding, it is an application that makes it easier for you to do game development things. What do you mean make it easier to do game development things? That is because a computer works in code that is not easy to understand by humans. This is called machine language. This is very specific. It's very based off of logic, and it's called forgot if it's called primitive, but I know it's definitely low level. That's what it's called. So machine language is very close to just basically controlling the hardware of the computer and every single little bit and bob and wire in the circuit board to make it do what it does. So it also controls every single pixel on the screen. And as a game developer, unless you're working in like that's a very specific skill to have, essentially. And unless you're doing it on specific like development boards or something, sometimes it's not really worth it, especially if you want to make something that can be easily shared on Windows or Mac or Linux or Android or iOS. Because if you want to make a game that you can share or the web, your game also needs to talk to those OSs and environments themselves. So it's sort of like, hey, Windows, I'm gonna do this and this and that, and Windows has to understand that. So above that, there are like low-level languages, which is not as basic as machine language, but then it's a bit more, they call it human readable. So instead of just like literally controlling the flow of electricity or something, or the currents and resistance, it tells you, it's more of like, here, do this, do that. Eh, It's like, oh, I forgot, binary and then machine language and then low-level language. There's a higher level languages which includes Python, C++, C Sharp, or whatever. I do not know necessarily the rankings of those, but HTML, those things are more human friendly because they're like, oh, I want this thing to have margins, so I will move. So I can just say the margin of this thing is 10 pixels. When lower level, you will literally have to manually move every single pixel or something. I think it's something like that. So it just makes things a lot easier and a lot faster to do. And that is built on like decades, probably centuries. Yeah, centuries by now of research and development. And then you have game development software, which gives you a lot more like shortcuts to making a game. Now I say shortcuts, but it's still not easy. But depending on your interest level, but generally it's not easy. It's sort of like, you know how you can take a bus for 5 hours to go to a specific place, or you can take a plane for 3 hours to go to a specific place, or maybe just 2 hours by plane, 5 hours by bus, or you can also use a bike for like 2 weeks, or you can walk it for a month. So binary would be the equivalent of walking to your destination. I would say game development engines would sort of be like maybe like a bus or something. I don't really know. Oh, but it basically beats walking, right, to a destination. So I highly recommend game engines unless you actually really want to make a game engine yourself, and that's your main goal and not making a game, because that would be assuming that you're just getting into programming. By the way, if you're a seasoned programmer, this is not necessarily for you. There are a few people who are like, I'm gonna make my own game engine. I don't need no Unity nor Godot. I certainly had that thought before when I was starting out, and I know the game development subreddits are sick of people like that. But that is the equivalent of walking to a place that you've never been to before, and you don't know how far it is. And you don't know how to like cook your own food. Because you don't know programming. So good luck. That's gonna take you either a lot of money or a lot of time. So yes, do I need one? Generally yes. I would say just try it out first, and if you really don't like it, if you find it too easy, switch to a different game engine. And then if it's really still too easy and not as customizable, that if after you've researched like documentation and sources online like Reddit, Stack Overflow, whatever, then I guess you can make your own engine. But if you tried them and it's too hard, then that means you should not make your own engine, but you should learn how to program. I would say this is sort of the ease of making them. I'm not including any AI things because I do not really enjoy the process of getting AI to do it for you. Main reason is, so I've tried it. I've tried AI because I was like, I feel like I shouldn't die before I tried AI. I gotta try it. It's everywhere right now. And it made me so sad because it just feels like asking a friend or a classmate or a teacher for a question. And then without, the other person being there. So it just feels lonely. So I guess if you hate other people and you would rather have a cold-hearted machine, then, just be careful what you wish for. Yes, as someone who actually likes talking to people and making new friends, having AI do stuff, and someone who is like not in a rush to do anything, yeah, I do not like AI. I know that there's like a lot of different types of AI, like there's medical imaging AI. Obviously, I have a different stance on that, although I don't think I should share them because it's just gonna be like a lot. It's a black box. I'm not part of it. But anyway, I digress. But yes, so no. For game engines, I would say like Construct 3, Scratch is sort of the easiest one to get because it's drag and drop. Construct 3 is something I specifically started out on. I did not buy the full version because they were kind of pricey and it's like a subscription service. But it is something that I almost would have gotten. But it was like getting hard to do the things that I wanted to do. It's like Scratch and Construct 3, they are very limited in the way that it makes it easy for you to learn how things work because there's not a lot of, like, it cuts out clutter. But once you want to get into customizing more stuff, then it is more hassle to do, to work with. And then I would say Godot maybe is here. No, if you want to make specifically visual novels, there are a lot of tools now, I think. But here is Ren'Py specifically for your visual novels. I do not know if it's easier than Godot now because Godot has a lot more tools for it, like Dialogic, which is really good, by the way. I really recommend Dialogic. It is a plugin, though, so it might take a while, but yes. RPG Maker. I do not know again if it's easier or not, so I'll just put this here. Something like that. RPG Maker, I know a lot of people I know tried it. I personally did not because I realized it's a specific, it's too specific for me, and it also, again, it's too restrictive. But it does sort of pare down a lot of things to make things narrower so you can learn faster also. And if your project, I think I do recommend it for like first projects. And there's Godot, and I would say this is Unity / Unreal. Some people think Unreal is Unreal or Unity. I think Unity now has a drag and drop coding thing. So actually, let me just do this instead. I cannot speak for Unity because I've never really used it, but a lot of games are made in Unity. So most games out there are probably that. And then after this is gonna be more like plugins and whatever. Like, I know that just for these engines there are ways to customize it further, but does require more code. It's a bit harder to get into also, but then if you need it, you will know when you need it. So like, yeah, you will know when you get there. And then make your own engine, which is hard. Probably need a lot of experience with programming or like a degree or PhD. I don't know. Mileage may vary, but this is I would recommend. I think most people would want to do this. So how do I start? Choose one of these in this order. I recommend you start with Scratch or Construct 3 if you have never tried them before and if you've never programmed in your life before. I would not count HTML necessarily. I think HTML is great, don't get me wrong. But games have a lot of if-then statements that unless you did JavaScript, I think it does not exist necessarily in HTML. So yeah, Construct 3 in Scratch, and then look online on like YouTube, look for a tutorial. Then try to make a game there. It doesn't have to be a good game. It just has to be a game. And then yeah, and then go from there. Oops, let me actually remove this. Because I did not go into Ren'Py RPG Maker. I did try, actually no, I did try Ren'Py first before, and RPG Maker, I found Construct 3 easier to use because it's sort of more, like you can actually program stuff, and then I transferred to Godot, so it's not a perfect list, but yes. Do I have any other tips to make? Nothing. Nothing. If you have any more specific questions, do drop them on in the comment, or if you are someone that I know or is in my currently private and small Discord group, just message me. So yes, I think this is good enough for a first video. Send any questions down below, and I'll see you next time. See ya!